There comes a time in every woman's life when she must draw a line in the sand and say, no more. No more being taken advantage of. No more shrinking to make others feel comfortable. No more saying yes when her soul is screaming no. The world will call you a nice girl when you let yourself be walked over. But God never created you to live underneath the weight of people's demands and expectations. So many times in life, people mistake kindness for weakness. They see someone who is gentle, who is compassionate, who gives freely of their heart, and they think that means there's no strength there. But let me tell you, it takes far more strength to stay kind in a cruel world than it does to grow bitter. It takes far more power to smile when life gives you every reason to frown, to keep giving when you've been taken from, and to continue walking in love when hate is all around you. Kindness is not weakness. It is evidence that your spirit is anchored in something greater than circumstances. The problem is when you allow the world to define you. They will reduce kindness to softness. They will reduce compassion to compliance. And they will treat your gentle heart as though it is a doormat. And if you're not careful, you'll start believing that narrative. You'll start thinking, maybe I am too nice. Maybe I let people get away with too much. Maybe I'm not strong. But the truth is kindness and strength are not enemies. They walk hand in hand. Real strength is not the loud roar. Real strength is the quiet ability to stand firm without needing to prove yourself to anybody. Sometimes, people take advantage of your kindness because they don't know the weight you've carried. They don't know the storms you've survived. They don't know the nights you cried and still showed up the next morning with a smile. They don't know that it takes resilience to be kind when cruelty has been served to you on repeat. And so they misjudge you. But don't let their misjudgment redefine your value. Don't shrink yourself because someone else can't see the power in your gentleness. There comes a time when you must draw a line and remind yourself that kindness has boundaries. Being kind does not mean allowing people to use you. Being kind does not mean tolerating disrespect. Being kind does not mean keeping silent when your soul is screaming for justice. Kindness is powerful, but it is never meant to be foolish. A strong person knows how to smile and still say no. A strong person knows how to love and still protect their peace. A strong person knows that giving without wisdom leads to depletion, and you cannot pour from an empty cup. So stop apologizing for your strength just because it wears the clothes of kindness. Stop letting people convince you that you are weak because you choose peace over pettiness, forgiveness over grudges, gentleness over anger. That's not weakness. That's mastery. That's control. That's evidence that your spirit has grown beyond the limitations of reaction and has stepped into the authority of choice. You don't have to answer every insult. You don't have to fight every battle. You don't have to prove yourself to people who will never see you clearly. Your kindness is your crown, and it takes strength to carry it with dignity. There's a power in being unshaken, a power in choosing love when hate would be easier, a power in staying true to your heart even when others call you numb. The truth is anyone can be hard, anyone can be mean, anyone can be cruel. That doesn't take effort, but it takes divine strength to remain tender and still stand tall, to give and still guard your soul, to love and still know where to draw the line. Kindness is not weakness. Kindness is wisdom. And when you learn to walk in that balance, you'll discover that the same people who underestimated you will one day stand in all of the strength it took to stay kind in a world that tried to break you. There comes a point in every person's life where you must realize that saying yes to everything is the quickest way to lose yourself. Being agreeable all the time, always putting others before yourself, and silencing your own needs so others can feel comfortable may look noble on the outside. But deep down, it slowly eats away at your identity. You can't keep bending so much that you forget you were never designed to be broken. You can't keep pouring into everyone else's glass while you're left running on empty. If you're always available to everyone, then you become unavailable to yourself, and that's a dangerous place to be. Somewhere along the line, many people, especially women, were taught that to be good is to always be nice, to always be agreeable, to never speak up, to never challenge, to never confront. But that's not goodness. That's bondage. You were not created to live at the mercy of everyone else's expectations. You were created with a voice, with dreams, with desires, with worth. And when you constantly suppress your needs for the sake of pleasing others, you rob yourself of the fullness of the life that was meant for you. Saying no is not cruelty. Setting boundaries is not arrogance. Protecting your peace is not selfishness, it is wisdom. If you allow people to drain you, to manipulate you, to take advantage of your willingness to help, you'll end up resentful and broken. That's why some of the nicest people in the world carry silent frustration inside. They feel trapped in their own generosity. They feel suffocated by the expectations they allowed to grow unchecked. They smile on the outside but cry on the inside because they've never learned how to say, "That's enough. I can't do that. I won't allow that." There will always be people who only come to you for what they can take. They will disguise it as friendship, but it's really convenience. They will call it love, but it's really dependency. They will label you loyal, but it's really control. And as long as you keep giving without boundaries, they will keep taking without gratitude. You've got to wake up to the fact that you teach people how to treat you. If you allow disrespect, it will continue. If you reward manipulation, it will grow. But the moment you stand up and say, "No more," you'll discover that you were never weak for being nice. You were simply untrained in the art of protecting your soul. Strength is not measured by how much you can endure from others. Strength is measured by how willing you are to stand for yourself, even when it makes people uncomfortable. Some won't like it when you change the rules. They won't applaud when you start guarding your time, your energy, your heart. In fact, they may call you selfish, they may call you arrogant, they may call you cold, but don't you dare shrink back to make them comfortable. Growth will always make some people uneasy because they preferred you when you were easy to use. It's time to understand that kindness without boundaries is exploitation waiting to happen. It's time to recognize that you are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. You are not called to diminish yourself so someone else can shine. And if being the nice one costs you your joy, your peace, and your sanity, then it is far too expensive. Learn to walk with balance. Learn to give without losing. Learn to love without being abused. Learn to serve without being enslaved. Because at the end of the day, life is too short to waste it living for everyone else's comfort. You were not created to be used up and discarded. You were created to stand in strength, to live in joy, and to walk in purpose. And when you learn the power of no, you'll discover that your yes becomes more valuable, more intentional, and more powerful than ever before. Life will test you with people who do not have your best interest at heart. They will smile in your face, but secretly they are weighing how much they can take from you before you break. They will cloak their intentions in charm, but their actions reveal manipulation. That is why discernment is critical. If you never learn to discern, you will waste years investing in people who were never assigned to your journey. You cannot afford to confuse access with loyalty, because just because someone is close does not mean they are for you. Some people stay close only to monitor you, not to support you. Some people stay near not because they love you, but because they benefit from you. And when you don't learn to identify that, you become a prisoner to relationships that should have been cut off long ago. Discernment is like sight in the spirit. It allows you to see beyond the surface. You have to look past the smiles, past the sweet words, past the promises, and pay attention to patterns. Words can be deceiving, but patterns don't lie. If someone constantly drains you but never pours back, that's not love. It's leeching. If someone constantly needs your support but never shows up for you, that's not friendship, it's dependency. If someone celebrates you in private but competes with you in public, that's not partnership, it's envy disguised as closeness. And you cannot keep ignoring the signs because you're afraid of being alone. Sometimes loneliness is safer than surrounding yourself with people who secretly sabotage you. It takes courage to step back and admit that not everyone around you deserves to stay. Some of the hardest decisions you'll ever make are the ones that protect your heart. You will wrestle with guilt because your nature is to give. You will wrestle with fear because you don't want to be misunderstood. But you must learn that you cannot save people who refuse to be saved, and you cannot carry people who were meant to walk on their own. If you keep carrying dead weight, you will slow down your own destiny. If you keep tolerating takers, you will suffocate your own growth. There are people who only appear when you're shining. They clap when the lights are on you. But the moment the crowd leaves, so do they. There are people who only stick around when they're benefiting. The day you stop pouring into them, they disappear. Exposing their true intentions, don't ignore it. Don't explain it away. Don't allow nostalgia to blind you to reality. Some people were never truly with you. They were only with what they could get from you. And once you see it, you have a responsibility to protect yourself. Discernment will demand that you separate. It will push you to create distance where your heart still wants to hold on. But holding on to what's fake will keep your hands too full to receive what's real. Sometimes you got to let go of who they were in your past so you can embrace who you are becoming in your future. It may hurt, it may sting, but it is necessary. Peace often comes at the price of separation, and freedom often comes at the cost of losing what you thought you couldn't live without. Never apologize for discerning. Never apologize for protecting your peace. Never apologize for realizing that not every smile deserves your trust. Not every friend deserves your secrets, and not every companion deserves your loyalty. Wisdom says, guard your heart, for out of it flows the issues of life. And when you guard it with discernment, you will begin to notice the difference between who is assigned to your destiny and who is sent to destroy it. There comes a moment in life when you must stop waiting for permission to stand in your own strength. Too many people stay small because they're afraid to disrupt the comfort of others. They silence their voice to avoid confrontation. They shrink back to keep the peace. They say yes when their soul is screaming no. But living that way is nothing more than bondage. You can't step into destiny while holding onto the chains of approval. Sooner or later, you've got to realize that pleasing everybody is impossible, and trying to do so will only leave you empty. Every time you deny yourself to make others comfortable, you teach people how to mistreat you. You set the standard for how low they can go with you. And once that cycle begins, it is hard to break because people get addicted to your silence. They get accustomed to your compliance. They expect you to bend, to compromise, to carry more than your share without ever questioning it. But if you are going to live free, you must disrupt that expectation. You must reintroduce yourself, not as the person they can walk over, but as the person who knows their worth. Understand this: boundaries are not walls, they are bridges to respect. When you draw a line, you are not being cruel, you are being clear. You are not shutting people out, you are teaching them how to stay in. A person who loves you will honor your boundaries. A person who only uses you will be offended by them. That is how you separate real from fake. Don't confuse someone's frustration with your boundaries as a sign that you're wrong. Often it's confirmation that you've finally taken your power back. You have to decide that your peace is more valuable than people pleasing. Peace is not negotiable. Peace is not something you sacrifice on the altar of acceptance. Peace is what sustains you when the world is chaotic. And when you stop allowing people to dictate your worth, you start walking in a peace that can't be shaken. That's when you can smile in the face of rejection, because you understand that rejection is redirection. That's when you can stand tall after someone walks away, because you know their leaving doesn't diminish your value. It is not arrogance to choose yourself. It is wisdom. It is not selfishness to protect your space. It is survival. You can give love without losing yourself. You can serve others without being a servant to their whims. You can be kind without being a doormat. The difference is found in the strength of your voice, the clarity of your no, and the confidence in your worth. The truth is, some people will leave when you start enforcing boundaries, and that's okay. Let them go. Don't chase, don't beg, don't bargain. If the only version they can handle is the one who bends, then they were never meant to handle the real you. Release them with grace and walk forward in freedom. Because the moment you stop apologizing for being strong, you start attracting people who can appreciate your strength. The moment you stop silencing your voice, you begin to hear the sound of your own destiny calling. And when you answer, you'll discover that you were never created to live under the shadow of other people's approval. You were created to shine in the light of your own truth. One of the greatest traps you can ever fall into is the trap of constantly apologizing for being who you are. Somewhere along the way, life conditions people to feel guilty for their own strength, for their own confidence, for their own boldness. But hear me, There is nothing wrong with being strong. There is nothing wrong with knowing your value. There is nothing wrong with refusing to shrink just to make others feel tall. The problem is not your light. The problem is that some people are more comfortable in the dark. And when your light shines too bright, it exposes what they would rather keep hidden. You cannot keep apologizing for your growth. You cannot keep watering down your gifts so others won't feel insecure. If your greatness intimidates them, that's their battle to fight, not yours. Stop playing small to soothe fragile egos. Stop minimizing your accomplishments so people don't label you as arrogant. The truth is, humility is not denying what God has placed inside of you. It's acknowledging that it came from Him. And when you walk in that truth, you don't have to dim your light. You can shine unapologetically, knowing that your shine glorifies the one who gave it to you. There are people who will always try to put you in a box because they are uncomfortable with your evolution. They knew you when you were broken, and they can't stand the healed version of you. They knew you when you were unsure, and they can't handle the confident version of you. They knew you when you were silent, and your voice now disturbs their peace. But you were never created to stay in the box they placed you in. You were created to grow, to expand, to transform. And every time you step into a new level of yourself, it will cost you some relationships. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your transformation exposed their stagnation. Don't let guilt keep you tied to people who only love the weaker version of you. If they can't celebrate your strength, they don't deserve your presence. If they can't handle your shine, they were never meant to walk with you in the light. You don't owe anyone an apology for becoming who you were always meant to be. Growth is not betrayal. Change is not arrogance. Strength is not cruelty. It is survival. It is destiny. It is obedience to the calling on your life. Stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Stop justifying your boundaries to those who only benefited from your lack of them. Stop apologizing for being too much, too bold, too strong, too loud, too confident. You are not too much. You are exactly enough for the purpose you were born to fulfill. And if that makes others uncomfortable, let it. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. It takes boldness to embrace yourself without apology. It takes courage to look people in the eye and say, I'm no longer shrinking. It takes strength to resist the temptation to go back to the old version of yourself just to keep people comfortable. But when you do, when you stop apologizing for who you are, you open the door to relationships built on truth, not convenience. You create space for people who can celebrate your authenticity instead of trying to suppress it. And most of all, you finally give yourself permission to live free. So lift your head high, walk with confidence, speak with authority, love yourself without hesitation. Because the world doesn't need a watered down version of you. It needs the full, authentic, unapologetic version of who you were created to be. And once you stop apologizing for that, you'll discover a power and peace that no one can take away. There will come a time in your life when you realize that not everyone has the right to sit at your table. You cannot keep inviting people to a feast who only come to take food and never bring anything of their own. You cannot keep letting people drink from your cup who never pour back into you your energy, your time, your love, your spirit. These are not things to be wasted on those who abuse, misuse, or take them for granted. And if you're ever going to walk into wholeness, you've got to learn the discipline of protecting your circle. Some of you are drained not because life is too heavy, but because the people around you are costs. They pull on your kindness, they drain your resources, and they leave you empty. Then, when you need a hand, they are nowhere to be found. That's not friendship, that's not loyalty. That's exploitation disguised as companionship. And if you don't get serious about protecting your space, you will spend your life pouring into people who were never meant to stay and miss out on the ones who were assigned to walk with you. Protecting your space doesn't mean you stop loving. It doesn't mean you become bitter. It means you get wise. It means you understand that love without boundaries is self-destruction. It means you recognize that access to you is a privilege, time, not a right. Everybody can't know your heart. Everybody can't hear your vision. Everybody can't walk with you into your next season. Some people are seasonal, meant to play a role in one chapter, but not meant to follow you in the next. And when you try to drag them with you, You delay your own progress. You cannot elevate while carrying dead weight. You cannot soar with eagles while clinging to chickens. Some of you keep tripping, not because of the obstacles in front of you, because of the company beside you. You've got to evaluate your circle and ask yourself, are they helping me grow? Or are they holding me down? Are they cheering me forward? Or are they pulling me backward? Are they aligned with my purpose? Or are they only aligned with their own convenience? The answers to those questions will tell you everything you need to know about who deserves access. It is not cruel to distance yourself from people who constantly hurt you. It is not heartless to protect yourself from manipulators. It is not unkind to close the door to those who drain you. It is wisdom, it is strength, it is survival. You cannot keep bleeding for people who would never bandage you if the roles were reversed. You cannot keep sacrificing your peace to maintain their comfort. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for them and for yourself is to release them. When you finally protect your space, you'll discover a peace you didn't know existed. You'll breathe easier, you'll think clearer, you'll grow faster, you'll feel lighter. Because when you stop entertaining the wrong people, you make room for the right ones. The ones who don't just take, but give. The ones who don't just watch, but support. The ones who don't just envy, but celebrate. Those are the people worthy of access. Those are the ones who will remind you that you don't have to do life alone, but you also don't have to do it weighed down. So guard your circle, protect your energy, value your space, because the truth is you teach people how to treat you by what you allow, and the moment you decide that your peace, your purpose, and your power are too precious to be mishandled, you'll stop entertaining what drains you and start embracing what sustains you.